Hello and welcome to Sport Tonight. I'm Cecilia in Lagos.
To you wherever you are in the world, joining us in London. I'm Austin Okonakwa. Cecilia, good to see you on the show again. Should we say we're a bit relieved now after the Super Eagles of Nigeria went to Bissau and gave the fans something to, cheer about?
And nothing to cheer, 1-0. I mean, I expected 3. That's the only way we could cheer, really. I mean, after that, abysmal performance, we expected something better. But at least we'll take that. We'll take all 3 points. The good news is we're at the top of the table, which is important. So we're still in the game. That's what is important. We'll talk about that on the show tonight. And of course, cricket will get our attention. Austin, I know you love cricket so much, especially when it comes to the women's game. I mean, Nigeria Cricket Federation, they're doing a whole lot for the women's game. And the T20 invitation is currently going on in Lagos, started on Monday. And of course, the female Yellow Greens started so well winning their first game against Sierra Leone. That will get our attention. And also what the president is doing concerning how he can have more women playing the game in Nigeria. And also NWFL, of course, midweek is tomorrow for all their games. We'll review all the games for tomorrow. And MPFL will also get our attention with insurance. Their busy run continues. I mean, with the draw against Eyimba, they will be facing Akwa United tomorrow. Remember what happened in the opening game against Akwa United? Right there in Uyo, they won that game 2-0 to start the season. We'll talk about that. And of course, the FIFA Women's Trophy that arrived in Nigeria on Sunday, and of course, it's back already. But then we'll talk about that, of course, what the High Commissioner, Nigeria Commissioner to Australia will have to say concerning that. And also, well, what NFF and, of course, the Super Focus players are expecting at this year's World Cup will always be there. But then will this be different? That will also get our attention on the show. And obviously, we'll touch down on the FIFA and the European Federation because of what is going on when it comes to, talking about players and how they can release them to their team and the money that will come into most of this club. And agreements have been reached between FIFA and ECA. That also will get our attention. So is a full program, Austin. I mean, a whole lot to talk about because we're starting up with cricket.
I totally agree with you. So let's go for those wickets, Cecilia, as we take a look at what's going on with cricket back home in Nigeria. And look, when the new board led by Uyi Akpata came, they said that they want to develop women's cricket in Nigeria. And it's good to see that they're keeping to those words. At this 5-nation tournament in Lagos, the female Yellow Greens, that's what the female team is called. The male team, they're called the Yellow Greens. They got off to a good start, beating Sierra Leone by 5 wickets in their first match, and then consolidated on that win, beating Sierra Leone by 6 wickets in their second game. And the junior and the female Yellow Greens now, they're looking pretty much good to, go all the way. They started by beating Sierra Leone, let's set the record straight. Defeated Sierra Leone by 6 wickets in their opening game and went on to beat Cameroon by 7 wickets today in Lagos. Lucky Paiti, I talked about Lucky Paiti, I think about 2 years ago. She was about 15, so she should be 17 or 18 now. Lucky Paiti won the player of the match. Impressive performance as she posted 22 runs from 24 balls and 2 wickets. This is what we're talking about, inclusiveness, Cecilia, because all the while we talk about cricket in Nigeria, we're always talking about the men. If it's not the senior men's national team, we're talking about it on the 17s or the 20s. Good to see and playing cricket. And they're not just playing cricket, they are also winning. And the coach of the team, Leke Oyede, is confident that this team will keep getting better. You know what? Let's listen to the president of the Nigeria Cricket Federation, Uyi Akpata. He's talking about cricket development in Nigeria and what's going on with these female Yellow Greens. We'll be right back.
We are to say where we've gained they made the largest gains in the last 5 years is relating to female cricket. I mean, what we've seen is the national team. Our national team has they've just won today. We've moved in rankings from number 38 to 28, and that platform for making that leap was when we had this tournament last year. At the time we were having this tournament last year, we were 38. So that opportunity to play regularly among with the best and also showcase the talent and what Nigeria so far is very instrumental for us. So, but beyond that too, we are talking about targets of 250,000 people. Half of those are women. So when you talk about the whole of Africa, in fact, the whole world now, I'm not sure there's any country that's producing new cricketers when it comes to females than in Nigeria. And that's why Nigeria has received the spotlight. Nigeria is the main anchor for developing talents around the region. So next year, hopefully, we're going to get Mali join us, and unfortunately, Gambia did not make it this year. They will join. Then we will need another East African team and hopefully a European team. I hear from the technical team that they are in good shape. I know from a playing perspective they've improved. But let's also recognize that our key rivals, Rwanda, they've also improved significantly. Most members of their under-19 team that took part in the World Cup are here, just like us too, our under-19 players are here. So all I can see at this time as just hosts, we should look forward to a very, very interesting tournament. But for me, the end game itself is about our qualification for the World Cup. We're going to prepare the team. This is just the start. In October or so, there's going to be qualification for the World Cup. And I assure you that the Nigerian team has a very, very good chance. So we on the board, we are just going to be doing all we can to prepare them for that tournament, put them in the right frame of mind and right spirit to do that. What I need to tell you on this basis, you first to know is that from 1st April, and it's certainly not April Fool, 16 players of the female national team are going to officially start being on contract with the NCF.
That's what I'm talking about. He said, no April Fool, you know. When they talk, they do. Cecilia, we must commend the Nigeria Cricket Federation, particularly that we can see that they are deliberate about developing women's cricket in Nigeria.
Absolutely, Austin. I mean, when you hear him, trying to analyze what they've been doing over the years, I mean, the past 5 years that they came on board, what they've been doing, trying to get as much as 200 and something women actually playing cricket. And you analyze the fact that Petra, who happens, I mean, at the age of 17, she started, and see the growth we've witnessed. And now she's playing at the national team, player of the game against Sierra Leone. It shows the growth. And of course, because the federation is doing what is right, you heard the last thing he said, not April Fool, they want to put about 16 players of the national team on contract, awesome. So they will be paying them. And of course, the last time I listened to him talking about the things they've lined up for these women, it's not just that. They want to have a national league. Now, we know they have the different regional leagues that they play. You have the South-South, the one of the Southeast, but now they want to have a national whereby just like you have the one in the men, so they also want to have that in women where they can actually play week in, week out. And when you're having these women actually being on contract with the federation, so that will definitely help them. No distraction when they are preparing, especially for the World Cup. So that's the way to go. When you want to do development, the welfare will have to be key, and that's what they're focusing on right there at the Nigeria Cricket Federation. So it's a good one, for all of them. But also, okay.
It is, Cecilia, welfare is everything. I say it over and over again, your passion must be profitable. And that's what the NCF, they're trying to do, get these girls into proper contracts, let them start acting like professionals, and it's so good, it will tell, and transmit into good things with their results. Cecilia, we at Pata mentioned that while we think we're doing well, let's also watch our rivals. He mentioned Rwanda, that they're also doing well. So we must make sure that we set the pace and keep the bar where they are not able to reach, and that will just keep you on your feet to keep doing what you need to be doing, because the guys who are your rivals are also not sleeping.
Yeah, that's the best way to go. I mean, you mentioned Rwanda. Rwanda defeated Ghana by 170 runs. I mean, they are defending champions of this tournament. So if you want to target, if you're looking for a country to really want to beat, Rwanda is the team to beat. But the coach also is excited with how the players started, and he hopes that they can actually improve as the tournament progresses.
I think it's an adaptation at first. That is why we brought them into camp, spending about 5 weeks in camp with them, and they have adjusted, acclimatized with the senior ones out there. But we still can't neglect the fact that bringing a new player or a young player to a tournament, you are going to see things like this, like stage frights, not having that full courage to execute some certain things. But immediately they start playing, like this first game and the second game, they start getting adjust into the momentum, and they follow the rhythm. I am not scared of any team, and I think my girls are not scared of any team. But I think the team that everybody look up to, we seem to play or we playing is Rwanda, which I think is not a problem for me. We will take the game as it comes. There are a lot of plans and strategic plan has been put into place. We are going to stick to our own game plan, regardless of what happened. We will ride on with our plan.
It's all about riding on with their plans, Austin. So we're just hoping that they can actually put all these things in place. Maybe Nigeria can win this T20 tournament. According to the president, he said, look, this is the third time they want to make it bigger and even have European countries actually coming in to want to participate. That's after they've seen what will happen this year. So it's a good thing.
On track, Cecilia, we had Uyapata on this show when he was elected president of the Nigeria Cricket Federation. And he said, look, let's slow down, and find ways that we can first develop our talent, give attention to infrastructure development. I'm not in Lagos now, but I'm sure if you go to the cricket oval, it's looking better than it was 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
And then he said more competitions. This is an invitational tournament, and we're already having reasons to talk about Lucky Piety again. If you don't do this, you won't give her a chance to display her talent.
Yes.
They also, as a federation, it's another opportunity for them to improve on administration. And they've said now we'll put players into contracts. And they have a larger objective of qualifying for the World Cup. These are all ambition that only purposeful planning can bring into fruition. And I'm proud that they're doing, particularly Cecilia, for the inclusion that we're talking about. Female cricket in Nigeria is almost sounding odd,
It is, Austin. But we can make it a cricket show, but that's not what we're going to do on sports tonight, because we're going to be moving on to another women's game, talking about, football happens to be the king of football. You can argue that, but then you just can't argue about that, Austin. You know that. And we're going to be talking about the FIFA Women's World Cup trophy that was in Abuja on Sunday over the weekend. But then we have a guest in the studio. We have Toby Atobatale. He's right here. Okay. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. As I said, I think the last time I saw you was during sports this morning.
So this morning, it's in a while,
It is always, of course, very nice talking sports, acquainting, having sports lovers, the happenings in the world of sport, most especially looking at what is happening in Nigerian sports sector, especially football, because we are not been happy with what we saw, from once our darling team, Super Eagles, even the Olympic.
It's still our darling team. Come on, you're not going to put that up, right?
Well, it is always, a good thing, when we see Nigeria, making wave in the world of sports, so especially when it comes to football. That is where, of course, you get it right. So it's always a nice thing talking football.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the program this evening. Okay, let's start off with the trophy, the touchdown. The FIFA World Cup trophy going around different countries. It was in Morocco, and of course, before it came to Nigeria. And on Sunday, it was there. There was a presser, organized for, school children were there. You also have students. You also have the Super Falcons. The captain was also, of course, Nigerian Football Federation were on hand to actually receive that trophy that arrived in Nigeria. Nigeria, as usual, always been to every edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup. We've never been past that quarterfinal stage. And we've just been there once. And the last time it was round of 16. But then this particular time, when you have this trophy coming, there's always this excitement that comes with it. When the federation actually, when it saw it, even Nigeria Football Federation President Ibrahim Gusso was saying something like, he wish he can actually, bring this trophy back to Nigeria. Bringing it not, as a tour, not on tour, but then bringing it. And you can see, so many young girls there, just to see, they can actually dream it. I can see one of their under-20 player, one of the Falconets that was at the last FIFA Under-20 World Cup. And of course, Nigeria tells our players, all of them there to actually see this. And of course, Aisha Fallow, the member of the Nigerian Football Federation Executive Committee, the president, the captain of the team, Onomebi, all of them right there to receive. Of course, Australian Australian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Lane Johnston, she was also there at that event. And that's the trophy right there. I mean, everyone wants to touch it, but then, you know, you can't actually touch it except you've won it. But that's the trophy, you know, when he arrived in Abuja on Sunday.
You know, the truth of the matter, you know, seeing this trophy live, of course, you know, every player, you know, we want to have a feel of the trophy. You know, by winning Nigeria can win the trophy, but not yet time. The reason I said is we can't win the trophy as long as Randy Wardrum is still on the job. You understand? So because you know, you do not know anything about African football, most especially the mentality of our players. You understand? So we have great coaches in the country that can handle the Super Falcons. We have the potentials, the talent, you know, to rumble the jungle. But you know, appointing wrong coaches, you know, to handle the tiers of our national team has been the greatest problem we're having. You understand? So if really, you know, we want to be ranked among the committee of great nations, of course, you know, we know what to do. You understand? So you know, we are the superpowers of African football, female-wise. You understand? So you know, we shouldn't be going down the ladder. You know, we should be aiming to get to the top of the ladder. You know, by going for the best coaches in the world to tinker, you know, at the Super Falcons. Look at the, you know, abundance of talents, of course, in the fold. But we are yet, you know, to surpass the record set by the Florence Omagbemi-led squad in 1999 when we get to the quarterfinals of the FIFA Cup. But getting to the second round, you know, has been difficult for Nigeria. Why? Do we have the right coach, you know, to handle the team? No, we don't have the right coach. But talents, you know, are bounced everywhere. But putting a team together, you know, to stand tall among the great nations has been our problem. Okay. So even if Musa Gusso, you know, we do the needful, Nigerians have been calling for the head of the coach. Even I particularly, you know, so that is why I always feel disappointed. Okay, maybe after
the World Cup, let's listen to Nigeria's the Australian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Lane Johnston, talking about the Super Falcons. Of course, remember, we'll be facing Australia, the host nation. Nigeria is actually in a very tight group. There's Ireland, there's Olympic champions, Canada, and of course, you have Australia, the co-host nation.
We're excited to welcome Nigeria to Australia for the tournament, and we're looking forward to the group match between us on the 27th of July in Brisbane. Australia is rightly proud of the achievements of our women's national team, the Matildas, who are currently ranked 12th in the world, and we're certainly hoping to see them go into the final stages. Sorry, Nigeria. I do have a bet with the gentleman here in the audience about the result for the first game. Australians know, though, that the Super Falcons have a long reputation and are not to be taken lightly. The Super Falcons, as acknowledged already, have played in every FIFA Women's World Cup tournament. They've won the Africa Cup of Nations 11 times. 9 times. Sorry, bad research. 9 times. And are by far Africa's most successful women's football team. So congratulations. With the Super Falcons having recently beaten Costa Rica, Australia will be watching the next couple of games against New Zealand and Canada quite closely. So we look forward to a thrilling match on the 27th of July and to both of our teams' successes throughout the tournament. And we look forward to welcoming the Super Falcons and their supporters to Australia and wish them all the best for the tournament.
We just can't wait for July 20th. That's when the FIFA Women's World Cup is starting. Austin, I believe you'll be smiling excited. I mean, he praised the Falcons first. He praised the Falcons first before he said, look, I mean, they have all it takes. Yes, Australia, when it comes to FIFA ranking, they're better than us. But Austin, you jump in on this after this break. Right, Austin, you have to jump in on this, on the FIFA Women's World Cup trophy, and of course, Australian High Commissioner. What do you have to say concerning the Super Falcons of Nigeria?
I think the High Commissioner said the right things. You know, she displayed good show of sportsmanship. You know, told us that we will respect the Super Falcons. They have an admirable record. You know, they've conquered Africa. But she was just, you know, looking forward to that big encounter between Nigeria and Australia on the 27th of July. We're also looking forward to it, and we hope that Coach Randy Wardrum will not have us, you know, put our hands on our cheek once again. We've seen the list. It looks good. We've said it over and over that whenever the Super Falcons are coming out to play, we expect them to, give a good representation unless the technical crew don't know how to use the players. And that's what we've seen with Coach Randy Waldrum and this team. So, yes, with Australia, that's one game that I'm even looking at. If the Super Falcons come out with, with good intent, purpose-driven play, and they win that one, then no shaking against Ireland and Canada. But what do we know? This is football where anything can happen. From that trophy presentation meeting in Lagos, the president of the Nigerian Football Federation was right there, Ibrahim Gusso, and the captain of the Super Falcons, Onomebi. Let's listen to them, Cecilia, and I'll come back. We'll get Tolu to respond to it.
We have been participating in all the editions since the session of this tournament, and by the grace of God, this time around we want to make the difference, and that is why you see the captain is here, and we are doing everything possible to see that we motivate them. Just about 2 months ago, they were in Mexico, where we organized some friendly tournament for them, and in the next couple of weeks they are going to travel to Turkey to attend to also some organized tournament with 2 other countries that are going to participate at the World Cup. So we are really doing hard to ensure that at least we support them for them to excel at that World Cup. But I want to assure you that this time around there's going to be different. My dream is to see that I bring the trophy from Australia back to Nigeria, not the people to bring it to Nigeria.
The last time we played in France, we got to the round of 16. And this time around, we are not just going there to go past the round 16. We are trying our best to move to the last 4. That's our target, and I believe with our hard work and support of Nigerians, the federations, and dedication of the players, I think we can achieve that, and that's what we are aiming for. We have the federation at our back, giving us, tough friendly games, and despite the result that is coming is not what we wanted, but we are using that to learn and to help us get to the World Cup stage proper. So I think we're 100% prepared for this. I feel like grabbing it, but I can't touch it. I have to work for it. We have to work for it so I can feel it, and Nigerians can feel it. So that's what we're preparing for, and I hope and believe with our hard work I can grab this down to Nigeria.
I saw a picture of Onome.
Yes.
Trophy. You can't touch it unless you win the World Cup. You cannot. And she said she's hoping they make it to the last 4. Tolu, what do you think? She's giving herself and the team a semi-final target. Is Onome maybe bluffing?
Of course, it is possible. It is football, you understand. So, if you want to have a feel of the FIFA World Cup, if you want to touch it, you have to win the trophy. But getting to the last 4, as I said, is possible. It is achievable, you understand. But we need to put our house in order. We need to get it right. From team selection, tactical formation, from the coach, and of course, those are the things we need to get right before we can say we are bringing the trophy back to Nigeria. Of course, Ahmed Ibrahim Gusso said we have been participating since the inception of the FIFA World Cup. And what have been our achievements? We have not been able to surpass, the record, we set in 1999. It is a shame that Nigeria, of course, one of the biggest football playing nation in the world and the king of African football, of course, puts together, football at every level. We are the king of Africa. But getting to the semi-final and final of the FIFA Female World Cup, has been a problem, for Nigeria. We have the talent, to go all the way. We have the players, we have the potentials. All we need to do, is just a little, put our house in order, get it right, from the coaching crew, the technical crew, down to the players who are the gladiators themselves, and all will be well with Nigerian football. I hope the Super Falcons will, at the end of the day, put smiles on the faces of Ivy Soccer Nigerians, when they get to this. I want to see the team get to the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup. Yes, we can achieve it. We can do it. Let's go rumble the jungle with other football nations. And at the end of the day, Nigeria will be a greater footballing nation.
We'll see. We'll see. Just hope that Coach Randy Waldron will not give us a different, experience from what we're expecting. So go Super Falcons, all the best. We've seen the team. As I said earlier, it looks good, and I believe that they can give Nigeria a good representation at the FIFA Women's World Cup when it kicks off in July. Let's bring it to the under-23 Eagles now. We talked about them last week when they played a goalless draw in Abuja against Guinea, and today Morocco, Cecilia. I don't want to bring the bad news. Each time I talk about this under-23 Eagles, it's like the NFF, they don't listen. Today they lost to Guinea 2-0, and so they will not be at the under-23 AFCON. And you know what that means for the Paris Olympics?
No Olympics. For the second time running, Nigeria football team will not be at the Olympics. That's the story, because they lost to Guinea 2-0. Right here in Abuja, when they were supposed to at least, have that upper hand, they just couldn't. It was goalless. And now, and I mean, it was a neutral ground, so to speak, because Guinea, obviously, Morocco is not their home ground. They went to Morocco, a neutral ground. You were thinking maybe, just maybe, after that performance, they might just get one or two and get a ticket to the under-23 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers for the Olympics, but then it just didn't happen. The 2 goals came in the second half. We're even thinking maybe it ends goalless, going to penalties, might just be lucky. But somehow, I don't know, the last time we were at the Olympics was Samson Siasi who took us to the Olympics. I'm thinking, I don't know if the ban is still on, just maybe, I don't know, because it's really hurting, The Super Falcons didn't go to the last one, and they missed 2 consecutively, and now we are having the men's team also missing 2 consecutively. I don't know what's going to happen. I just hope these Falcons will be able to go. So at least we have one football team at the Olympics, not what happened in Tokyo when no football teams were actually there. And with basketball, that's a different story. So we don't even really know how many team sports we'll be having. So the story is, under 23, the Olympic Eagles that used to be the dream team, they will not be going to another Olympics.
Well, it is very sad and disheartening, seeing the Olympic Eagles, are missing out on the AFCON, for the second time in a row. So it is disheartening, you understand? Because I knew right from the one when they played Tanzania in Ibadan. Of course, I was with the team all through before the game, so I knew then that this team would not make AFCON.
Now, how did you know that?
Of course, one from the technical crew, of course. One, Salisu Yusuf on the job, for me, is a no.
Why do you say that? Do you have a better option?
Salisu Yusuf has never, of course, done anything good with the national teams. Of course, check his record is there for everyone to see. Then the composition of the team, the team selection, the players invited, for the game. I knew Nigeria will not make AFCON. And taking the game, to Abuja, kill everything about the game. You understand?
You think they should have continued with where they were playing at Ibadan?
Of course. We had all the chances of this world, to nick the ticket right there at the Moshola Biala Stadium in Abuja. They flopped, you understand? So, and I knew, going for the second leg in Guinea, it will be a tight rope, for the for the under-23 team. Of course, coming to the studio this evening, I was talking to one of our colleagues, said, take your mind off the dream team. So they're not gonna make the AFCON. So, and posterity will never forgive Amaju Mevin Pinnick, for giving the job to Salisu Yusuf. You understand? So he knew right from the one that Salisu Yusuf would never do a good job.
It's not a magician. How will he know that he won't do a good job?
Of course.
Coaching, sometimes you can have elements of luck.
Salisu Yusuf has handled under Tan Eagles before. It was a failure. You understand? So he was assistant coach to Super Eagles. It's a failure as well. Now giving him the under, is he the only coach in Nigeria? We have coaches, of course, who are busy.
You think the problem with the under-23 is all about coaching, nothing else? No.
When you get it wrong, of course, it's coaching wise.
What is the timing of the appointment? Because we've seen countries, Austin, we've seen countries whereby you have a progression, you have a system, you have a standard where you have okay, these are coaches that are responsible for the underage tournament. So there's just this progression that you see every time. You don't just draft anybody. When a tournament is coming, that's when you're drafting a coach 3 months or 4 months to the time. And you know what? Come and handle this under-23 team. You don't see that with most countries who are really serious with football. So do you want to put the blame on the hands of the coach who suddenly will call them, come and handle this team? Or maybe if you have a structure whereby that you have consortium of coaches that handles the under-17, under-20, and of course under-23.
I understand the frustrations of Tolu and the angle where it's coming from, where he started with the NFF and then stopped at Salisu Yusuf. And there was one we missed also under Imama, Coach Imama, is the same under 23. It all boils down to not having a particular program for this competition. And Tofet Wabola, the last time I was on the show, tried to explain to us how difficult it is to, structure this team. So the NFF now needs to sit down and understand what they want to do with this under-23 team, because you can tell that we're now struggling. You wonder, is it not the same Olympics that we were qualifying for easily? The under-23 team, was it not 4 years ago they were champions, where they used to qualify for the Rio 2016 Olympics? So what has gone wrong now? Is it coaching? Maybe Salisu Yusuf is not the right man for the job, or maybe he doesn't understand these players, or he's not giving enough time to know what's going on. I totally agree with your point too. It's about progression. So maybe they're giving it to Salisu Tolu because Salisu Yusuf understands local football in Nigeria. It comes with a rich pedigree when you talk about league football in Nigeria. And because most of the players that they use in executing the first round of the qualifiers are players from the MPFL. Most likely, that's why they're giving it to Salisu Yusuf. But I also agree that if he's not getting it right, then you got to change it. The only way you want to leave it is when it's not broken, then you don't have to fix it. But we've shown time and time again that this is a problem, and it has to be fixed.
We have to fix it. You can see confirmation of the results right there on your screen. 2-0. You want to see the results. That is not looking pretty, but it's 2-0 aggregates on the 23 Africa Cup of Nations. But that's how it ended for the under-23 Nigeria's team. So confirmation of that result that they played in Morocco. Let's leave this one, quickly move up to the big boys. Just a wrap up of what happened with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Just confirmation of the results, how it went down. Nigeria, at least they were able to get all 3 points. And right now, when you look at the table, they're top of that table, but 9 points after 4 games. And of course, they've lost one. Guinea have lost just one. And of course, Syria alone on 5 points, Guinea on 7 points, and Sao Tome and Principe on 1 point. Just a quick one, if you have 30 seconds to wrap up with the Super Eagles of Nigeria, because I know if you want to start talking about Super Eagles, we won't leave here. But I'm giving you 1 minute on Super Eagles. That's it. 1 minute. Your time starts there.
The team is gradually becoming the most star-studded weakest team in Africa. You understand?
Wait, star-studded.
The most star-studded weakest team on the continent of Africa. Okay. You understand? So, with a lackadaisical attitude, to the towards the game, because the problem we're having is like going to another man's farm, trying to harvest farm produce, which we did not plant there, you understand? So, leaving, the bulk of home-based players here, combing Europe, looking for player, of Nigeria descent, to come, don the green, white, green color. Of course, if they are Nigerians, they reserve the right to play for Nigeria. But, if you must bring them on board, make sure, they are top players, not players rejected by their adopted countries. For crying out loud, we have a players in the local league, that can perfectly fit into the system of Super Eagles. But abandoning them, running after these foreign players, will not do our football any good, than harm, you understand? So, but thank God, we are the last 2 games of the qualifiers. But Jose Pesero, for me, of course, it's not a perfect match, to handle.
Okay, its contract will expire in June. Austin, just a quick one on the Super Eagles of Nigeria. At least we got a win against Guinea-Bissau. We talked about that earlier. That's what is important. 3 points, and now we are back at the top of the table. That's what is important.
That's the good thing about that win in Bissau, that it has taken them back to the top of the table, and that will boost confidence. But there's still so much work to be done, and unless we address those issues that have been identified, particularly from that loss in Abuja, then the Super Eagles continue to struggle. If a team as South Africa now, they are just chilling. South Africa, that if you take Aqua United to play qualifying series with them, Aqua United will qualify for South Africa. South Africa, they've qualified. Senegal, showing champion stuff, qualified.
Algeria.
Be doing, not waiting to play Sierra Leone and Sao Tome and Principe to book their place.
All right, let's leave the Super Eagles of Nigeria because I know if you want to talk about this team, we'll spend the whole show talking about them. Quickly, we'll touch down on NWFL. That's okay. We have the table, Group A standing. What is like that I talked about earlier? What this Group A standing is looking like? Where you have Nigeria, of course, on 9 points. Guinea-Bissau after 4 games, 7 points. Sierra Leone 5 after 4, and Sao Tome and Principe, of course, the whipping boys in the group. But then they have just 1 point. I mean, not really so bad, but they're yet to win a game. That's what it's looking like for them. So we'll leave the Super Eagles of Nigeria here until they resume again for the final round of the qualifiers. Now we'll talk about the Nigeria Women's Football League games for Wednesday. There's so many games that will be played tomorrow. We start with the Group A, what is looking like for this particular games. And let's start up with this one. Okay. Atlan Queens and Bayelsa Queens will be in action. You have Royal Queens and Delta Queens in action. Delta Queens, the only team that is unbeaten. Ocean Babes and Niger Rattles will also be in action. I hope them actually seeing the trophy for the FIFA Women's World Cup will inspire them for victory. Igbo Rangers and Nasarawa is also another team in action. Confluence Queens and the Damawa Queens. Edo Queens will be hosting FC Robo. The last time they met was a difficult game, and Edo Queens, after losing their game against Confluence Queens, would they be able to bounce back? That's a big question for them to answer right there at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium. Just a quick one on the... No, let's move on to MPFL, yes. Yeah, there'll be no time. MPFL, yes, talking about Nigeria Professional Football League. That's the next one. Games for this weekend. Match day 11. Abia Warriors and Enugu Rangers will be in action. Benin Insurance against Akwa United. The opening game that they had against Akwa United ended 2-0 in favor, of course, Benin Insurance. That's why they remain the only team that is unbeaten this season. Dakada and Bayelsa United will be in action. Economy Warriors and Remo Stars. You have Eyimba and, of course, Nasro United. The game between Eyimba and Benin Insurance, that game ended 1-1, and they had to share the points there. At the other group, you have Gombe and Kwara United, Lobby Stars and Rivers United, Niger Tornadoes and Wiki Tories, Shooting Stars and Plateau United, Sunshine Stars and Domo United. These are the games for match day 11 from the Nigeria Professional Football League. Just a quick one, the games that will get your attention. You want to focus on insurance, or which of the game? Yeah,
Bendel Insurance, Bendel Insurance versus Aqua United. Because they have to surprise everyone, of course. Since at the start of the abridged league format. So and they're getting interest. At the end of the day, it will be a win-win for football. Yeah. But I can see a new dimension in our local league instance. So kudos to IMC. For coming out with this dynamism. So because it's been a different thing, we have seen teams going to away ground, grinding out results, and of course a team hosting the opponent, of course also getting the desired results. Yeah. But I think for me, all we need to do now is to patch all the loopholes, of course, before we can actually say yes, we have arrived as far as local league is concerned. And the players, of course, are also doing tremendously. And but in terms of our match bonus, allowance, salaries, that is where we need to work on to make sure all things, of course, are being equal.
That's why they want to cap it at $1 million.
Exactly. And we hope at the end of the day, at the prize money, will be given to the winner.
Which might just happen. Austin, we'll wrap this up with MPFL. No time usually runs fast when we are enjoying the sport.
I know. What a time to, end the show. But I'm looking forward to... Now, no one will blame me if I say I'm looking forward to Aqua United and then the Insurance match, because that's actually the star game for the league of the Nigeria Premier Football League. And what a story Bendel Insurance are telling. So maybe Aqua United will be looking for a sweet revenge this time around in Benin City. That's the show. In London, Austin Okonakpan, in everything you do, remember, you're talking sports. Bye for now.
All right. I think the director is just in the 5 more minutes on the show. And Austin already signed out. Director, why are you like this? Okay. So, I mean, he says, he's talking about the Aqua United. I wish we could just see pictures coming from that first game that they played, in that first leg, 2-0. I remember what happened in that game whereby, the Knights actually got spoiled because they had to fix the net in between the game, and Insurance still went ahead to win it, which was really funny. That is
normal. That is normal in football, of course. We see something similar, of course, globally as well. Yeah. So it's not a new thing. It's not bad. Yeah. It happens, of course. At least we have seen during the football match, the floodlight went off, for instance. So the game has to be paused for some minutes before it starts again. So I think, but we just need to put our house in order. we know football, of course, is the biggest sport in Nigeria. So we have to make sure, things are done the way, they should be done. So if you really, want to stand tall, of course, and beat our chest that, wow, we have got it right in football. So for me, Nigerian football, I would be great as soon, if we are ready, to put the right.
I think it's looking good because from the press, we have details of that tomorrow on the show where the IMC and the sponsors meeting together on trying to put so many things in place. For instance, when it comes to salaries of the players, they're trying to peg it at ₦1 million for those players. So they're able to do that, and of course, where the standard is right in terms of facilities, and that's why you see this season
security as well.
Most teams are not playing on their home ground. Why? Because if their stadium is not okay, you can't play, and that's why you are seeing some. This is one of the best stadiums that we have in Nigeria.
Of course, go to Akpabio Stadium.
Akpabio Stadium.
Next of
course,
champion.
you also have the one in Benin City, and of course, the game. That's what it was. Artificial turf. If you watch that game live between Benin, you can see pictures coming from that game too. The game between Benin Insurance and of course Enyimba. That game that ended, 1-1. Right there.
It was a classical game.
It was a classical game for that because the way Insurance started, the way Enyimba started, it was something you want to watch over and over and over again. So when you see games like that, you're obviously excited that hey, something good is coming. I don't know if you can see pictures of that Enyimba and Benin Insurance game, because from that game, people actually watched it. I felt, okay, why didn't we just use these players to play against Guinea-Bissau? I'm like, come on, it might just be interesting, but then, sometimes you just have to look inward to be able to get something out of that.
Because most of our coaches are lazy in Nigeria because they don't want to go to match venue to scout for players. They just want to remain where they are, of course, and start looking up to other people to recommend players for them. So gone are the days when you see national team coaches are moving around league venues scouting for players. We have a couple of good players in the league. Are they telling us they can't pick out 5 to 6 good players from the local league and slot into the Super Eagles or the under-23 teams? I think, for me, sometimes, we just do our things as if we don't know what is right from what is wrong. But in all, one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria are the administrators.
Okay. Vegas. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the program this evening.
It is nice to always talk for lunch Channels TV.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Mwagbe. Have a great night, guys.